Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. We are broadcasting for the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum Library. And coming up next, we have the other track guy, as we call him, the other track announcer. We had Tony Bachhoven on here about 3 weeks ago, and Kris Krug will join us next on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
The best Wing 410 sprint car drivers in the world will converge on the Southern Iowa Speedway for the 26th annual Sage Fruit Front Row Challenge. The champion's belt is up for grabs on Monday, August the 9th. See who will win the $20,000 cash prize. There will be slide jobs and all the side-by-side action you can handle. So get your tickets online at oskichallenges.com or by calling 515-957-0020.
Hey, and welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. Mike Roberts along with Kris Krug. I get to introduce you. It's normally the other way around.
Right, I'm the one that always sends it down to Mike Roberts.
That's right.
Or Tony does, at least, yeah.
Yeah, Tony does, you do, or you do what you're told, and that's about it.
I'm going to get hit for this later on, but as I always tell people when I'm with Tony, like, yeah, I'm the guy that Tony works for in the booth. You know, it's me.
You're always brave when he's not around. I'll give you that. So, we've described you as the long-lost brother that we didn't want.
But here I am. Here I am anyway.
You're still here. You were on the show last year and kind of introduced it the same way. We got a lot to talk about. All-Stars coming up next weekend. We can talk about that some more. But I want to go back a little bit a few weeks ago. Kind of your forte, if you will, in the stock car version of life.
Yeah.
We've had SRX here.
Yeah.
And I thought, I got to be honest, I was skeptical going in.
Same.
And literally, I enjoyed working with that group.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I don't know from your end of it as far as up in the booth was concerned, but down in the pit area was a blast.
Yeah, and going into it, you know, you heard 13 cars, here's a 2-hour show, this is how it's going to go, and you got worried. And then I think everything kind of soothed over when we went to the pit meeting, and they kind of explained to the drivers what they're going to do, because that entire series is fan-focused first.
Amazingly.
Yes, because like in the IROC series, the old days, there was nobody in the grandstands. That was we're going to go to Talladega, we're going to go different places. It was more for the drivers and a TV thing. When they told the drivers, hey, if we're running 7 laps and you guys are all 9 car lengths apart, we're throwing a yellow out. We're bringing it together. Mm-hmm. So they want the racing to be good. It was fan-focused, and they knew that this was, it's an exhibition, but give these guys a show, and we got that. I mean, that place went crazy when, I still can't get over it today that I got to call a lap with Michael Waltrip leading a race at Knoxville Raceway. Never in a bajillion years I think that was going to happen.
My favorite, there's a couple of Michael Waltrip moments. One is when I interviewed him at the break, and he got spun out.
Yep.
I won't say who spun him out, BB, but anyway, he asked me, he goes, I don't know who it was. Go out there and find him. He goes, you just show me to him and I'll take care of the rest. You know, that's a Michael Waltrip thing, because I'm not saying Michael's never been in a fight. I'm sure he's been in a scuffle or two. I mean, he's been racing for 100 years. Mm-hmm. But he's so easygoing. He's so fan-focused. He's so about the entertainment and the promotion of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they give him a microphone and let him run down the pit area.
Exactly. And then, on top of that, too, the other drivers were just as well to get along with as well. Helio was great. I mean, he never once walked by a fan and told him to get lost.
The guy won the freaking Indy 500 less than 3 weeks before that.
I know, right?
And you could have swore he was a new kid with a tricycle on the racetrack.
He is not afraid, or he is pretty proud. When I asked for a picture myself, and of course he throws up. I've been asking the 4. I'm like, all right, I get it. I like that. Yep, and it was awesome. But, it all kind of hit me that night, too, when Tony and I were in the pit meeting just kind of listening. And I looked around at the drivers for a second, and I noticed we have all these different drivers from around the world in different aspects of racing, and they're all right here today. We have a guy who made a living in dirt late models with Scott Bloomquist, sitting next to a guy who was the 11-time most popular driver in NASCAR for his career, and they're all just hanging out chilling. It's like, this is incredible. This is just take it all in as a motorsports fan.
Did you ever thought you'd ever call a race where you got to say Awesome Bill from Dawsonville?
No, I did not.
You know, that was before your time.
There are some great nicknames out there, but man, is that not one of the best ones?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. And when Tony introduced him as that down in the drivers' introductions down in the front stretch there, I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah. Well, Awesome Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. The pass in the grass that never really was a pass in the grass, but still a great moment in racing history. Yeah.
We talk about Michael Waltrip and all the drivers, not just Michael, but Michael sticks out because Michael's like a giraffe in the crowd.
Oh, he's so tall.
Yeah, he's so tall. Yeah. So when he tries to sneak in and see something or look at something that has nothing to do with theirs, when we were time trialing sprint cars, he walked over the tech area. And he's literally hovering over Connie McCoy, and she turns around and almost has a meltdown. Not meltdown screaming, but freaks out. Holy crap, what's this guy doing,
Right.
But, it was just Mike being intrigued about what we were doing in our sport.
Just taking it all in like we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, he had obviously never been in a sprint car, I'm sure. He maybe gone to a race before, but never been in one. I had heard rumors that Helio might get to hot lap a car the night before in a sprint car just to kind of get a feel for what dirt does, because as he mentioned, he had not been on a dirt track racing surface since he was on a BMX bike when he was in
2 wheels. Yeah, 2 wheels.
So I heard that he might get a chance to hot up a car just to get a feel for what dirt does. That didn't happen, obviously, but just to see those guys take it in too, just as much as the fans did, was awesome. And I really hope we get a chance to see it again next year.
What about Haley? Wasn't she awesome?
She was great. Yeah. She surprised me. I'll say that. I figured, she hasn't ran too much on the dirt side of things, but she ran really great here. And I'm not big on the K&N Pro West things, but I believe she won a K&N Pro West Series race at Las Vegas on the dirt track. Yeah. I think. So
I think you're correct also.
That experience paid off here.
If not, we'll just make it up and lie about it.
Right, there we go. Yeah.
The favorite line of the night, I never will forget, is, and I'm going to misquote it, but I'll get the gist of it. When Tony Stewart wins the race, and they start talking about Michael Waltrip, he goes, he says, all I know is when Michael Waltrip took the lead, I thought, if Mike Waltrip beats me, I'm gonna need therapy for a year or something like that.
My goodness, yeah. And to see Tony finally win a race at Knoxville too was great. He's been here many times.
He turned around and won his race at Eldora too. Then didn't he?
He did. Yep. So, this series with him and Abraham that they got going on, I'm not gonna lie. When we had a rain out a couple of weeks ago, I tuned in. I kind of got intrigued. It's 2 hours. It's made for TV. It's made to be there as well too. But it's you're in and out. You're there, and they have that short track format. You get 2 heats and you also get a feature. So it worked out great. I am kind of glad they turned it down from 100 to 50 laps. That would have been a bit of a longer night, as you know, because 50 laps took the full time. Right. So we were going to be in for a haul there.
I think it was great to work with them. I think CBS did a fantastic job promoting Knoxville itself. Speaking of promoting Knoxville, it wasn't that long after that, and then we had the trucks in. And I missed that night. I wasn't here that night, but you were.
Yes.
I think you watched from over at the Hall of Fame.
I got to be a fan for the first time in my life at Knoxville Raceway. I've been here for 8 years now, 9, including the 1 year at the radio station.
Right.
And each night I'm here working. And for the first time in my life, I got to hang out as a fan and just enjoy the atmosphere and soak it all in. And I understand why the Hall of Fame is such a great place to be at. I hop-skipped from McCarl's to D-Hyde Suite, which was a mistake the minute I stepped in
Translation, you got thrown out of McCarl's, you had to go down D-Hyde. Go ahead.
No, I went back to McCarl's after D-Hyde.
Okay, yeah. Probably a good idea.
And then I went to the Tammy has a suite, too, as well. They used to sponsor Brady Bacon.
Right.
I hung out with her for a while and the whole group there. So just to enjoy it, just to soak it in. And I had never seen a race from Turn 2, obviously, so I figured what a night to do that from. And it was incredible. I mean, just to watch and see what FS1 had brought for promotional aspects to Knoxville. The aerial shots were incredible. I mean, they were beautiful, gorgeous shots in high definition.
I think in watching it on TV, I think the biggest thing FS1 did was kind of take it back, if I dare say this, back to the Diamond P era. And you weren't even probably born.
No,
when were you born anyway? So
89. January 28th
okay, so
of 89.
You missed a couple of those.
Started.
Yeah, you missed a couple of those. And they kind of bled into the early 90s. But Diamond P was on TNN, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it was a broadcast deal. Brock Yates, Steve Evans. And those guys focused just as much during the Nationals at Knoxville I'm talking about here. They traveled with the World Outlaws and did some other shows, but they came here for Nationals. And they had a helicopter hovering over. That was the relay. I mean, there wasn't no high-tech stuff back then.
Right.
They focused just as much on the town as they did on the racetrack.
Yep.
And that's kind of what FS1 did. They gave a more of a down-home, this is Knoxville Raceway, here's why we're here.
Why this place is so big. This town embraces this, and they welcome you don't be afraid to come down here and check a race out and just be a fan.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. Some of those aerial shots that were in HD, I almost want to take a screenshot of them on my computer and frame them. And they look great.
Yeah,
they look
I think go right ahead. I don't think NASCAR will sue you for it.
Not at all. No. But that whole night, was just it was phenomenal. For what we got to see at Knoxville, and also just to realize NASCAR, they're here.
Right.
This is awesome. This is great. CM Brown, he had a top 10 finish. He
stayed out of trouble.
So that's what. Yeah, that happens.
Trouble.
That happens sometimes. Just hang out in the back for
when
a while.
When I found out there were 44 trucks that started that race.
I
think it was 44, wasn't it?
Outside the Enduro, that has to be a record for one race for
right.
cars,
And my first comment was the one who survives wins. And unfortunately, it did turn into that because we are a bigger racetrack for dirt.
Yep.
And if you are into super speedways on pavement, you understand that Talladega
has the big one.
Yep. We had the big one, then we had a few of them right after the big one. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's what some of the fans seen and wasn't happy with, and I understand that.
Yep.
They got to work on, and not just Knoxville, they had this problem at Bristol. They've got to work on the mud situation because you have to have a tacky track to last on the track.
Well, the Bristol situation, though, as we both know, dirt racing in the daytime is tough.
It is.
It's not generally going to work out very well. So I think that NASCAR needs to look at moving that race to a primetime spot to make that more of a moisturized track.
But even us, we had an evening race.
Yeah. Yep.
And and NASCAR, they can't handle the mud on the windshields.
Yeah.
They can't handle the mud in the radiators.
You got to build a dirt-specific truck, and I don't mean like the Carl Chevrolet trucks we'll see here. We see at Knoxville once in a while, But I'm talking about build a truck like you would for a road course,
right?
Build a for them. So maybe it's a little bit different than what you have, but it's still going to be a still body frame, still body everything.
Stock car is your forte, and that's why I had you on the show to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is, are they going to take the time to do that with the 2 to maybe 3 races a year they have to do in dirt?
They do it so they did it in Cup for many years. They only have one race. They only had 1 or 2 races on Cup for they had Sears Point and Watkins Glen for a number of years.
Right.
Well, they had 3 with Riverside in the 80s, but and they did it for them. I mean, so I think if it becomes a big enough deal, and NASCAR is like, hey, we're doing this for the next 10 years. Then they're going to put the money in it.
I think they have to because they put the Cup cars on dirt this year as well.
Yeah.
I think they have to. I think they've got the gist of going back to, the old bluegrass roots racing, if you will. Mm-hmm. All right. I get that. I got to be the first one to admit, when I heard NASCAR was coming to the sprint car track, the sprint car capital of the world,
right.
I'm the old dog.
You like your sprint cars. And
I like my sprint cars.
That's it.
And I said I'm not going to be there for that. I wasn't. Now, I did watch it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did watch it because I want to see the coverage. With that said, I was impressed. I was really impressed. We get the question all the time, and we don't know. And the question is SRX coming back? Is NASCAR coming back? And I've been here for 24 seasons. You've been here for how long now?
Going on this is my 9th overall, 8th with the actual track itself.
Yeah, and we're the last ones to know. The groundskeeper finds out information before we do, so I don't know the answer to that. And I don't think you have you heard
about next year? Or?
Yeah,
no, I have
NASCAR
not.
coming back.
There's rumors all about. I would just say stay tuned. I would honestly be surprised if it didn't.
Yeah.
Because again, we embraced it well. And we
did and they did.
Yes, both parties did.
Yep.
So I would expect to see hopefully SRX back next year and NASCAR back next year as well too. Obviously, the dream would be to have the Cup guys here. That's going to be a little tough because of the capacity. You'll need a Bristol style capacity for that. But I would not be surprised to see the trucks back next year at all.
Do you need the capacity now?
For the dirt race, yes. Okay. Now, for any other, I made the argument for a long time, and we're going to go a little NASCAR here, that if I were a NASCAR owner, what I would do is you have all these driving schools that drivers go to for months on end, and they just practice laps, and they go and learn how from drivers' courses and all that. If I were Joe Gibbs, I'd tell my drivers, instead of doing these driver courses, you proved yourself already. I'm going to put you in a super late model asphalt car. I'm going to send Joe Schmo.
You just couldn't wait to say late model on the show.
Right. I'm going to put Joe Schmo. You're going to go down to New Smyrna in Florida for for 2 years,
right?
And you're going to go down to you're going to go to North Carolina for 3 years, and you're going to win there. You're going to learn to drive, and you're going to build your fan base up. You're going to interact with the fans because when you come to Cup, you're going to bring those fans with you. That's what's missing, is that there's no relationship anymore. I don't know half the guys in Cup anymore. I don't, because they didn't really start from grassroots. Kyle Larson did. He started with nothing in California,
right?
But a lot of times it's who has the money, who can bring that sponsor with. Well, if I can bring fans with me, that can be just as good of a sponsor, because they're going to sell merchandise for me. They're going to bring on other things as well. I can sell it to new potential sponsors. And also think that NASCAR needs to look at going to once a year or twice a year. MLB does a great job of this. They're doing the Field of Dreams this year still, right?
Right.
They did Omaha before the called World Series 2 years ago. Go once a year. Go to a short track. Mm-hmm. I mean, the capacity thing isn't there anymore, because you're seeing grandstands with 20,000 people in them. So 20,000 people at a 20,000 seat capacity looks huge. Looks great. But at 100,000, there's nobody there. You're bored. It looks bad. So go to New Smyrna once a year. Go out to Bakersfield or whatever, California. Find those new tracks once a year and have fun with it and change it up a little bit.
The capacity thing, I still question that. Mm-hmm. Only because, and again, I'm way out of my league when it comes to NASCAR, especially the Cup thing, but I do see a lot of empty seats still.
Yeah, the capacity argument, like Iowa Speedway, well, they don't have the capacity for it. That's not an argument anymore. I mean, if you're not selling out the stadium, then that thing is gone.
Look at Daytona. Let's take Daytona. I went to Daytona in 2004, Junior 1. I'm on the backstretch. It's like 267,000 people.
And they probably sold out back then.
They did. You know, I mean, just wall to wall. You had to get there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you parked in the parking lot, and at 7 o'clock, you left your car, and you got in line. And I got to my seat 5 minutes before the race started. Okay?
That ruins the whole day almost right there.
Well, it's a neat experience to go through.
One time, yeah.
But since then, they've taken the backstretch down.
They have 100,000 now. That's it. It's all front stretch.
Yeah.
So.
And I didn't see a sellout this year. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, yeah, I didn't either. I don't know.
I know COVID had a lot to do with it.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to take it away from it. So.
But like when California.
But this has been 3 years now. It's been no backstretch, 3 or 4 years. So I mean, it was pre-COVID. There was no sellout still.
Well, I mean, California out there, they used to have 2 races a year, but they were only selling like 30,000 tickets per race.
Exactly.
So okay, 1 race a year now, and then they had like 70,000 there because it's only one time. So that capacity argument. I agree. It does not stand anymore. If they're telling racetracks, well, you can't come here because the capacity doesn't hold enough. Sorry, try again.
No, I agree with that 100%. You brought up late models, so let's talk late models before we get back into sprint cars and the All-Stars coming next weekend. Lucas Oil Late Model Nationals coming up again in September.
Yep.
Again, we don't have to worry about the limits anymore. Last year, we had to cancel it last year.
Yep.
We had to cancel it because we had a big COVID run through here. And for some reason, they blamed the racetrack. Public health did. Turns out they were wrong.
Yeah.
But whatever. With that said, what kind of crowd are we looking at now?
I think it'll be pretty big because car count should be pretty high.
Right.
Those drivers
when you
love
say
Knoxville.
pretty high, how many? 60s, 70s?
60s.
Okay.
And plus we'll have the Melbourne Bank Super Late Models here on Saturday night again as well.
Right.
Invite only. Always good to have them. I think they're going to run 2 heats plus the feature on Saturday night only. Thursday or Friday are just going to be quick shows in and out for the Lucas Oil guys only there. So it'll be good to have Joe Kaczynski and his brothers back again for that series.
You still working for those guys?
Friday nights,
right, okay.
Hanging out there, looking for another fun time. I've only been there, I think, calling races 3 times this year because the other 4 times I was scheduled got rained out. So it's like
you're bad luck still.
Bad luck, but we've been pretty fortunate here out
there
east.
You go, Ronan.
There we go.
Boy.
But no, I think the fans want to get back here again. The drivers love this place. Scott Bloomquist has mentioned this many times as his favorite racetrack. And I really think that Josh Richards is now determined to get this W. He's like Donnie Schatz before Donnie Schatz became the winningest driver here for a long time. Yep. It took Donnie how many years to break that losing streak here in Nationals? It took so many times, and Richards is right there now.
Somebody just picked up the words winningest driver, and we're not taking anything away from Lasowski. We're talking about Nationals. We're talking about that run Schatz was on. That's
9 and 10 years.
Yeah, 9 and 10
exactly.
Years. Yeah, a couple paychecks.
Before that, he had a hard time getting the W here.
He had a hard time getting through turn one night. If you remember I don't know, you weren't around for that, probably, but I mean, literally crash, fuel everywhere, blah blah blah, and he was bridesmaid forever.
Yep.
forever.
Well,
in fact, I interviewed him one time. I said, you're back at the front row again. You've had second the last 4 years in a row or 3 years in a row. Whatever. He goes, gee, thanks for reminding me about that. In typical Shots fashion.
I went back recently. I think it was just last week. I watched the rebroadcast on YouTube of his first Nationals win. And
Ralph went nuts.
Well, Ralph Sheheen ends the broadcast, and that's a wrap from Knoxville, where Donnie Schatz finally wins the Knoxville. And it's like, you have no idea what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
You have no clue what's coming.
Yeah.
Like, hear the words, he finally got it. Good for him. And it's like 10 years later, all right, he got it again.
Yeah, he got it again. 9 times out of 10. Yeah, okay. Who's next? Come on. Where's this Young Money guy at? Isn't he showing up sometime?
Yeah, right.
Young Money is scheduled to be here in a couple weeks.
Yep, and he's picked up right where he's left
Talk
off.
about Nationals.
Yep. And
got his extension.
Well, back to Cup real fast with him too. My friends.
I said extension. So
Right.
I opened the door for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And my friends who are Kyle Larson haters and all that, they told me when he made his full-time return to Cup, he's like, he's only going to win like 4 or 5 races in Cup a year, right? I'm like, do you know how many races that is? How many? You're lucky to win a race.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
if he wins 5 or 6 a year for 10 years,
yeah,
come on, man.
I'm only going to win about $2 million, and oh wait a minute, I did $1 million in one night.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do you understand what you're trying to like? So he's only going to win what no driver's done before in like 10 years. Okay, that's awesome.
Somebody made the comment to me at our local establishment across the street after he won that $1 million race.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world is he still messing around sprint cars and blah blah blah? I said, simple. He's got to win money to pay those taxes on that $1 million he just won.
Right. And maybe he has a passion for it.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. I hope that he does not leave the grassroots racing anytime soon, because it's only good for our sport. More
their contract it has that in there. His car, the sprint car wise, is now sponsored by Hendricks. What is it? Hendricks Motorsports.com?
Yep.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And, the more he races on dirt, the more they're going to talk about it on NBC and FS1,
Absolutely.
and the more it helps our sport, so keep it going.
I remember the first time that I watched a Cup race, and I think it was actually late model Nationals time, so it was a race after late model Nationals, and Smoke ran top 3, second or third, I can't remember what it was, and they mentioned the fact the next day on the Cup race
that he ran
Knoxville and finished top 3. You can't buy that advertisement.
No, not at all. And for the fans that might have,
it costs a lot.
Right, yeah. And for the fans that might think, NASCAR being here is nothing, all that, like, all that publicity that the Cup fans see about Knoxville now from the truck race, that means maybe 1 or 2 more people will now drive just south of Des Moines on their way to the East Coast and stop by, check us out. Or they might say, hey, let's go to Knoxville, check a race out, because we saw the Cup guys. I'm a Cup fan, but it looked pretty cool on TV. Let's go ahead and let's check out a race on Saturday. That's what that does for this place. And I know, like, you came around to it, obviously. You were like, yeah, at first, I don't know, NASCAR being here, but you embraced it. You saw what it did for everything. So, yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to come in and promote Knoxville, Iowa.
You thought maybe it was going to be just NASCAR.
I thought it was going to be NASCAR. We're at this track in Knoxville. Not say Iowa even. Could be Tennessee.
Don't even mention sprint cars.
Don't mention sprint cars. That was my fear. I won't lie to you. That was my fear. And I was born and raised in this town. I'll fight you tooth and nail to promote this town. You've seen my passion. I put my foot in my mouth trying to do things right for this town sometimes.
I agree. Yep.
But the bottom line is, I live here, I love it here, and I'm staying here. And they did a fabulous job.
They did a fantastic job. And I love that featurette they did on the CBS broadcast, too, of Knoxville about that.
Again,
my question for you is...
I was shocked CBS was prime time. When I first heard CBS, I figured, okay, they're going to put it in their cable CBS network.
And they'll do a rerun of it at 9 in the morning.
5
No one's going to watch it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, it was great. And so Tony and I are in the booth. We're watching the featurette, kind of hanging out. And all of a sudden, here it is. Pops up, AJ, owner of Dingus. I'm like, how did that guy get on?
Oh.
How did he get on the feature?
Yeah.
I love him to death. I'm like, all right, good for you, man.
I look for National Sprint Car Hall of Fame sometime to give him Promoter of the Year, because he's constantly promoting. Not just Knoxville, he's promoting himself. He's promoting his races. I mean, that's what I mean, though. The passion of it all. And he wasn't even born here.
I've been asked 100 times by drivers like in the area, Boone and all this area, hey, do you think Dingus ever sponsored him? Like, there's no reason to. You don't have to.
Yeah,
he gets the greatest. All the way around. Well, he gets the greatest advertising there is. Word of mouth.
Yeah,
and he's right across the street from the biggest racetrack in the.
He sponsors stuff at the track though. It's just
himself. It's himself. Yeah, but I'm saying as far as like anyone having to go down to, it's not going to happen, man. No reason to.
Yeah.
So
he's definitely made that place. It was already famous. Now it's infamous.
No, big time. Big time. Yeah.
You live there.
I don't live there. I go there. I do my walk around after nationals each night.
Where'd you stay Where'd you stay Outlaw Weekend?
Outlaw Weekend.
Was that with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you stay the SRX weekend?
That's yeah.
Where?
That's
Where at?
right behind Dingus.
Right behind Dingus. Thank you. That's all.
Had my camping spot.
Nothing further, Your Honor. That's going to wrap up this edition of Knoxville Dirt Digest. You thought I was going to end it that way? You're crazy.
Yeah.
All right, you got to get to work. We got stuff to do. All-Stars coming in next weekend. Don't forget. That's always a great show.
It's going to be great.
The All-Star Weekend, in my mind, is as big, if not bigger, than the Saturday night that used to, let me backtrack this. Before the Capitani Classic, the Saturday night show was the biggest 410 show we had besides the Nationals.
Yeah, and it's a great fit, too. I mean, we already have, in the past, we already had the 305s off that night or Pro Sports off that night. So why not just make it sanctioned? The All-Star guys are going to be here anyway, so sanction it. Now you're guaranteed to get those guys here.
Right.
Great show. We'll have, I'm guessing, around 50-ish, maybe 55-ish.
You'll start seeing some California cars coming in, named drivers. You'll start seeing some East Coast guys coming in.
The cool part is they're going to hang out here all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me to see Anthony Macri show up for that deal.
Yeah, he'll be here. Tyler Courtney leading the points right now in the All-Stars, and what a season he's had. Great stuff so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what happens. All right, that wraps it up for this edition of KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. We'll see everybody next time.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
The best Wing 410 sprint car drivers in the world will converge on the Southern Iowa Speedway for the 26th annual Sage Fruit Front Row Challenge. The Champions Belt is up for grabs on Monday, August the 9th. See who will win the $20,000 cash prize. There will be slide jobs and all the side-by-side action you can handle. So get your tickets online at oskichallenges.com or by calling 515-957-0020.